get your thoughts, that's okay, on how important it is right now to take this same model that's worked in D.C., lowering crime, lowering all the rape, murder, assaults to different cities in America.
So the model that we did in D.C. worked incredible. And as you see, crime has plummeted in D.C. It's been amazing. I was texting with Mayor Bowser this morning, and last night I was texting with the mayor of Memphis. So we're really looking forward to going to Memphis today. And, you know, we know President Trump knows when the government shuts down, crime doesn't shut down. And so we're not going to let that impact what we're doing in fighting to keep America safe. Memphis has the highest violent murder rate in the entire country. Just this year alone, they have had 150 murders, and it's going to stop. We're all working together, and we're going to meet with the governor, the mayor. I talked to both of our U.S. senators last night, who are here, I think, voting to hopefully open up our country again. And but we're all, Secretary Hegseth, Stephen Miller, and others, and I are going today to Memphis to meet with all of the government officials and all of our great members of law enforcement who are out there now working so hard.
Let's talk about the policies that need to be put in place to make sure that when we do get these criminals off the street, they stay off the street and maybe get charged for some of the crimes that they've been allegedly committed.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem in Memphis because they've had cashless bail. You know, when you have a woke DA who doesn't care and they're letting people out, they're turning it around. Someone who committed a violent murder recently in Memphis in 2024, I think, had just been let out months before on cashless bail and then commits a murder. So these people should be locked up. They shouldn't be on the streets. And that's why our U.S. attorneys are going to take as many of these crimes federally as we can, as we legally can. And also we have DEA, ATF, FBI, U.S. Marshals, all working hand in hand with the National Guard, with Secretary Noem and DHS, and with all of our partners on the ground, local law enforcement as well, to help keep Memphis safe and make Memphis safe, because it's been horrendous out there.
In DC, you took some of those National Guard members and you used them as sort of lawyers. Is that something that you plan to do in Memphis as well?
Did you say use them as what?
You had them working on legal cases as well, so that they were working in the streets, but also to keep these criminals in jail.
Well, right now we have our U.S. Attorney's Office ready to go. Everything's on the table. But yeah, we had taken a lot of JAG officers that we were using that Secretary Hegseth loaned us. And so, yeah, we might be doing that again as well. But right now, it's really just getting the crime under control in Memphis because it has been out of control. And, you know, we have a Democrat mayor there who understands it. He understands they want to make Memphis prosperous. They want to bring businesses there. They want to keep it a beautiful city that it is. It's so historical. And yet the crime is through the roof. #1 violent crime in the entire country. Gonna stop under Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, folks, let's bring in the busiest man alive. Yesterday, he was in the Oval Office twice, and today he's flown to Memphis, Tennessee with the United States Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and the United States Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Always good to have Brian Glenn with us. Brian, we talked to you yesterday. You were a very busy guy yesterday on the plane. You're in Memphis. And now tell us where you are. We're not seeing you, but we're seeing a shot in Memphis. Tell us about that.
That's correct. Good afternoon, Eric. You never know where you're going to be. The Oval Office are here in Shelby County here, but you get a live look at the stage right now. This is a digital screen with the Emergency Management Homeland Security crest on there. Now, there's a reason why we can only show this screen. We're in a very secure area. There's a lot of security, people that need to conceal their identity, but this is kind of the ground zero for all of this. You remember back on September 15th, President Trump created the Memphis Safe Task Force, and this initiative was to basically end the violent crime that Attorney General Pam Bondi talked about in Memphis. Now, this is bringing all key federal agencies together, Eric, making sure that share intelligence, set priorities, maximize resources, and that's why they're here. And obviously, we've seen what it's done already, Eric, in D.C. Homicides fell 53%, robberies dropped 57%, carjackings plunged 75%. Overall crime, Eric, is declined by 39%. Even myself, as being someone that was robbed in D.C., it's now safe to walk around. I know that coming in here, Eric, we noticed a digital billboard, and it said, "Memphis welcomes the National Guard." It says a lot about this community. It shows how they are receptive to what President Trump is bringing in here. Attorney General Pam Bondi and both Secretary of War Pete Hegseth will step forward and address this crowd here in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tell us about the cooperation between the Department of War and Attorney General Bondi, the Department of Justice. How are they going to work that?
Well, what's going on here is we got to make sure, and the Attorney General talked about this, that when we take these people off the streets, they're actually charged and held. We've seen a conveyor belt of criminals coming in and out of the court system, in and out of jails, to go back on the street and commit those crimes again. Certainly, that is something that's going to stop under this administration. And of course, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, given the resources that some of these cities need to really back it up for their safety. We saw what happened in Dallas and at the ICE detention facility. That is now days after that they brought in some resources to protect that detention center around there. So really, you've got two agencies working together to make sure not only that we keep the streets safe, but that we also prosecute these criminals and hold them accountable, because we've seen what weak DAs have done across the country. We just let these guys back out on the streets.
And Brian, tell us about the shutdown's going on right now, but it won't affect operations or the Memphis portion of this operation, right?
That is correct, but from what I've been told, is the operations there in D.C., they are still working. There's a lot of men and women in law enforcement that aren't actively, they've been furloughed on that. It's interesting. When I came into the White House today, I asked some of the Secret Service agents in there how this affected them personally. He said, well, you know what, our schedules have changed some, but assuming that they get it all worked out, we get the government open again, they should not really kind of miss any paychecks. A lot of those individuals get paid once a month, so assuming that they got paid for October and they were able to do something the next 2 to 3 weeks, then perhaps their next paycheck will not be, they will not miss that as well. But it is changing up the way I think the scheduling is. I know with the Secret Service, I can't speak on behalf of the National Guard or anything like that, but as far as Secret Service goes, they are having to rearrange a little bit of their scheduling.
Yeah. Brian, D.C. was a test case, but that's a federal district, a little bit different than when you go into a state, Memphis, Tennessee. What is there cooperation by, I'm guessing, the governor, local law enforcement, Memphis Police Department?
Absolutely, there is, and of course, even the governor here has been open arms. Bill Lee has formally requested federal help, and President Trump is answering the call with its decisive leadership. So you've got cooperative, everyone's in agreement here, and I was just speaking to some individuals walking in here today, and they said, look, the community wants this, and despite what many in the media say in terms of DC, and Eric, I'm amongst DC, I live there, I know the people who live around the Capitol and around the White House and that live in the DC area, they want the National Guard there, and I know the people of Memphis feel the same way.
I gotta go.
And you know what? We talked about Chicago.
I don't want to. I want to cut you off. I got to get the War Room. It's coming up in just a minute. Brian Glenn, you are such a roving reporter. You bring us the best stuff. Appreciate your time, Brian Glenn, everyone.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you for that.